once, my ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I'm your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 86th year of the award at the 90th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 2017. Today's guest you last heard discussing Closed Mondays and the nominees of 1947 or 1974. Please welcome back Rory Donovan. Hello, Rory.
Hello, hello. How are we all doing today?
We are doing spectacularly, especially since we brought back the guest on last year's most listened episode, the fan favorite episode.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was definitely not because I butchered that entire recording. Totally not at all.
Like I hear when I ask like some of the few people who listen to this podcast what their favorite episode is, both of them have said your episode just because you forgot to watch the winner.
Yeah, no. And unfortunately for those people, I did remember to watch the winner. As I've learned from my mistakes.
But also it's not just that. You are just a generally funny person, like an entertaining person to listen to.
Absolutely, 100%. Let's fucking reball. Am I allowed to curse on this again? I don't remember.
Yes, you are.
Oh, let's fucking go.
I curse all the time.
All right, cool.
But remind us, what is your familiarity with the Best Animated Short category?
I don't watch the Oscars.
Understandable.
I think I've heard of a couple of these before. The winner of this year, Dear Basketball, I think I heard of. I may have even seen it before. It looked vaguely familiar. But I don't remember anything about it, and I don't watch a lot of movies at all. You know this very well.
I do, even though you're like in a group chat with a bunch of film fans.
Film fans, film writers, stuff like that. I'm the outlier. I come to give the common man's perspective, and I feel like that is I'm really a modern day Jesus Christ, the way I am constantly shunned for my opinions, and yet I'm always correct. So I feel like that is something that we just have to all acknowledge, and appreciate about that. So
sure thing, if you say so.
Oh, absolutely, I say so unless it's correct. Amen. Sorry, it's Women's History
Month.
A women. Apologies.
Shut up. It's not even going to be Women's History Month when this comes out, but anyway.
Well, it is while we're recording, okay?
Yes. But before we discuss the nominees, even though this is a short film-centric podcast, there is also a Best Animated Feature category at the Academy Awards, so to be fair to them, Rory, I will list off the names of the nominees for Best Animated Feature this year, and I want you to tell me in just one word what you think of them, or simply say you haven't seen it if you haven't seen it. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, so first we have the year's winner, which is Coco.
Coco? Oh, I cried several. I still cried in that movie. Actually,
one word responses, Rory.
Oh, dead.
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 Number 2, we have The Boss Baby.
Michael.
Number 3, we have The Breadwinner.
Bank.
Number 4, we have Ferdinand.
What's the Mamma Mia? I'm gonna count that as one word.
Okay. And number 5 is Loving Vincent.
Who the fuck is Vincent?
It's a movie about Vincent van Gogh.
Oh. Doctor Who.
Okay. I don't think any of those were like your actual opinions, but that's okay. We're having fun here.
Oh, is it not word association?
It wasn't word association. It was just what you think of them, but just in one word. Or say you haven't seen it if you haven't seen it.
I haven't.
But it's too late. We're moving
too
on.
Late. I'm doing great. It's great, guys.
But also just so you know, it's like nobody ever does the one word thing.
Perfect,
Say that.
perfect. I'm a golden god. All right. Keep it
Uh,
rolling.
but let's move on to our first nominee and the year's winner, which is Dear Basketball, directed by Glen Keane. This is the first and only nomination and win for Keane, as well as writer and subject of the film, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is also the first black winner and nominee in this category, and the first Oscar winner to be a professional athlete. Keane and Bryant are two rather big names in their respective fields, and we'll tackle them individually. First, Glen Keane. Keane is a longtime animator, getting his start by attending Cal Arts and eventually joining Walt Disney Animation, specializing in character animation. His early work with the company was on films like Pete's Dragon and The Rescuers, but over time grew into a role of supervising animator, leading the team with his most notable work being during the Disney Renaissance. As character designer and animator, he brought to life Ariel, Pocahontas, and Tarzan, and also supervised the animation of Beast and Aladdin. His work with Disney even goes beyond the Renaissance, with his work on Long John Silver for Treasure Planet and Rapunzel and Tangled. In his final years at Disney, he was a major inspiration on former winner in this category, John Cars, and he was making the short film Paperman, and even helped design the female lead in that film. Keane would eventually leave Disney in 2012, citing his concerns with the management of the company at that time, particularly during the development of Tangled, which he was originally slated to direct, but many problems both with the production as well as personal issues led to him stepping back. Post Disney, he would direct a short film Duet, partnered with Google in the early days of their Spotlight Stories series, which typically focused on VR storytelling. However, Duet is not in VR. And after Duet comes today's nominee, and beyond that, Glen Keane's last film is his first feature film, the Netflix animated film Over the Moon, which earned him a second Oscar nomination, this time for Best Animated Feature. The only other recent project was able to find from him is that he voices Trash Truck in the Netflix series Trash Truck, which was
Let's go.
created by his son Max. So, how does Glenn meet Kobe? Well, to make a long story short, Kobe Bryant joined the NBA in 1996 and he played in the league for 20 years, earning the reputation of being one of the greatest players in the history of the game. When announcing his retirement from the NBA, he wrote a poem titled Dear Basketball, posted on the Players Tribune in November 2015, detailing his love of and an obsession with the sport of basketball. Kobe, however, did not want to leave it there as just a poem. He wanted this to be a message to other people, encouraging kids to follow their dreams. And what better way to do that than with the film medium, animation specifically? Kobe actually sought out Glen Keane specifically after seeing the film Duet. And for the music, Kobe wanted the legendary composer John Williams for it, and so he got him because he's Kobe Bryant. So then, over 9 months, the short was made, with Glen Keane personally doing the 2D pencil animation. And the final project debuted at the Tribeca Film Festival in April of 2017, and of course went on to win the Oscar, among other awards. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention two more aspects of Kobe Bryant's life, his 2003 sexual assault charges and his death in a helicopter crash in 2020 alongside his daughter. Both events are, of course, terrible, and it would be dishonest to pretend that they aren't in the minds of people when viewing this movie. Kobe Bryant was an immense presence in American culture, with a lot of people who either worship him or despise him. This is not the world that Rory and I are really a part of, and I don't believe this is really the forum to litigate Kobe's legacy in. So we're going to try our best to just talk about Dear Basketball as an animated film, as a celebrity's passion project about themselves, and how ball is life. So, with all that said, Dear Basketball features Kobe detailing his personal history of basketball, from his childhood pretending to be a basketball player, tossing socks into a trash can, watching him practice and grow into the Kobe we know, living out his dreams on the basketball court, to eventually giving up the sport but still loving the game. Rory, what did you think of Dear Basketball?
Honestly, I liked it a lot. It was nice. It was the one I vibed the least with, just right off the bat. Um, I'm not a huge sports guy at the end of the day. It was a little touching seeing him talk briefly about his his body giving out and him coming to terms with giving up this sport he's loved. But other than that, like it didn't do it for me, truth be told.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like this winner is like one that is very controversial. Like both people either love this film or hate it. Like some people call this like just this beautiful story about like a person's like passion. It's just like just watching them grow and whatever. It's a very sentimental kind of film. Especially like with the simplistic kind of Glen Keane drawings and the sweeping John Williams score, and other people just deride it as some like what's the word for when people are too full of themselves? Uh I forget what.
Egotistical?
Yeah, some kind of
Hubris?
egotistical passion project that just trying to make Kobe look as best as he can as just he uses his celebrity to just get whatever the fuck he wants. And so it's just so, and it's at the end of the day, it's just like a nothing movie. And for me personally, I kind of fall in the middle where it's just like there are parts of this that I do find kind of like emotional, like good. There are parts that are like emotional. There's a good story here at the very least. And it's like, and I do appreciate that it's only 5 minutes long. And it's like if it was like 20 minutes of like Kobe talking about how much he loves basketball, it's like, yeah, that would be a bit much. But this is just a little thing. It's fine. But at the same time, it's just like I feel like this would be better if it weren't like if it didn't have like one of the greatest animators making it, and it didn't have fucking John Williams on the score, because at that point it's just like you're just reminded how this guy isn't like some humble little kid like finally achieving his dreams. He's one of the biggest stars in the world. And it's just like that kind of loses a lot of the kind of like relatability you could have here, because it's like, yeah, maybe some kids could be like like a basketball player. Maybe they could play for the NBA. But nobody's going to be fucking Kobe Bryant. And it's just like you can't really promise that. It's just like this isn't really this can't really be that inspirational because it's so specifically distant. It's just like,
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. Absolutely. I didn't even know that about the score or the artist.
yeah.
Um, Honestly, the score kind of faded into the background a little bit for me. I was kind of focused on the words. And this is why I'm not a huge movie person, because stuff like that is I miss a lot. But I know I absolutely agree with you that even hearing that, it does kind of put a lot of it into a bit more of a negative perspective, not ruining it, but changes how you perceive it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just and also John Williams' score, more about that. It it sounds pretty, but also sounds like it's a bit overwhelming for me. Like I know you said you didn't really notice it, but it's just like it's a bit much. It goes like into like this big sweeping things when it's like it really shouldn't do that. I don't think it should be a bit more simplistic. Like maybe just a simple piano theme or whatever would have been much more fitting. But no, this is like a full orchestra, I think. And yeah, this just doesn't work. But yeah, and at the end of the day, I think I do like this movie though, or at least I think it's fine. It's not a winner I'm going to get mad at even, or I might get a little mad because I think maybe some of these other films are better. I won't say which ones yet, but it will become obvious eventually. Um, but I'm not mad about this film winning, and it's just like, you know, it was kind of inevitable to win anyway, just because it's the only one of these movies that had like any kind of broader impact. Like it's like even the one Pixar nominee, it was the Pixar short before Cars 3. And it's just like who really cared about that? Well, I did. It's my favorite Cars movie, but that's besides the point. Um, so yeah, that's Dear
Yeah.
Basketball. Anything else you'd like to say about it? Any other things that stood out?
Honestly, not that much. It was kind of forgettable for me, which is probably a hot take for a lot of people. Like you said, it was kind of divisive, either 50-50, you love it or you hate it. I'm kind of in the middle where it was there. It kind of makes sense that it would win an Oscar, but I don't think that makes it deserving of the win, especially
Yeah.
comparative to a lot of the other stuff I saw today.
Yeah. Yeah. So me and Rory, we are both centrists, is what we're learning today.
Yo, that's yeah, that's ooh, that's that's one way you could have put it. Yeah, you know, you and I, real bleeding centrists of America here. Uh,
God. The, the idea of a bleeding heart centrist is so funny to me.
we really ride or die that libertarian party line.
Oh my God. Anyway, we'll move on to our second nominee, which is Garden Party, directed by Théophile Dufresne, Florian Babikian, Gabriel Graperon, Lucas Navarro, Vincent Bayou, and Victor Caille. I I sorry for butchering those French names, but also it's the French, so I shouldn't be that sorry. Uh,
That's
Together they are
yeah,
kn- together they are known as Illogic Collective. However, between the six of them, Victor Cayer and Gabriel Graperon got the Oscar nomination, and this is their first and only nomination. The group of filmmakers met at MOPA Animation School in France, and Garden Party was their graduation film together. Similar to other recent films in this category, the filmmakers liked the idea of showing a story from the perspective of a non-actor, where the real story of the film happens in the background. They also wanted to stretch their technology and animation prowess to its limits by making something as photorealistic as they could. A lot was achieved by photographing real objects to make models out of for the backgrounds, but properly articulating all the film's frogs was the real challenge. All six men worked equally on the film, whether it be six working together on things like the storyboards or during production, where each one worked on an aspect better suited to their specialties. But in the end, the film came out exactly how they liked it, and most of Logic still works together to this day, as the company still makes short films and commercials together. Garden Party features frogs. Just frogs. Swimming around in dirty water, walking around an abandoned mansion, eating caviar, finding a gun, you know, frog stuff.
frog
Um,
stuff, naturally.
Frog stuff. Um, so I rem so this is one of the earlier years where it's like I watched all these nominees in theaters, like as part of like the screenings of the shorts that the Academy or some affiliate does every year. And it's like I remember distinctly hating this movie because I thought it was boring and gross. And I do understand why I thought that before, but I think I do like it a little bit more now because I don't think I was actually paying attention to like what the scene they're in is. It's just like I just thought, oh, it's frogs, and then all of a sudden there's a dead guy. It's just like okay, whatever. But it's like once you know to like pay attention to the background, it's just like, oh, okay, there's like this murder that's happened here or whatever. But also
Yeah.
the frogs are cute. I like the frogs. There's specifically there's like this one shot of like this frog climbing up like this line of lights, and it's like a shot where he just like looks off, and he's just the cutest fucking frog ever. I think it's the one that they use on like the poster for this movie on Letterboxd or whatever. But
Hmm,
yeah,
hmm.
it's there's some cute frogs here. There's some funny frogs too. There's some nice little slapstick in here, but also I do think it's a bit boring. I do think it goes on for a bit too long, but it's it's harmless.
But have you considered that it had frog sex or implied frog sex in this short film?
Yeah, I did think about that. There's
Yeah,
also the big chunky frog who wants the food.
which is like he's cool and all, and like honestly, you know, all power to him. But the artistic bravery it took to depict something so raw and passionate as two frog lovers.
I mean, they didn't even show it though. It's like how brave
Well,
are
you
they
got to keep
really?
it tasteful. They're animals, okay? You got to keep it tasteful, all right? But it shows the emotion. I know there's a big debate on film Twitter, all those old film nerds, on if sex is necessary for art or if it's you know not needed and all that. And I think this short film answers it perfectly. Because of course you can capture emotion through showing actual sex, but at the same time, when you are dealing with something so magnificently blank as a frog's expression, sometimes you just need to show the intimate moments where they're gazing into one another's eyes, or they're realizing and giving each other the a-okay, the the consent to go forward with what's happening. And I think there's something honest sorry. Honestly, it's so beautiful how well you can capture the the humanness
Anyway,
of these
I
frogs.
feel like they should have just shown it though. It's just like they cut away from all
Not
the good
everyone
parts.
needs raw sex from frogs, okay?
I do. I need
You
Kermit
do.
fucking on my screen
You
right now.
want Kermit the Frog fucking on your screen? Well, I have some great parodies I can send your way that I'm sure exist out there. And we can and hell, I will even go as far to say that I will somehow the second copyright drops for Kermit the Frog as a character, I will even produce an Oscar award-winning short film for for it. And I will make sure that it wins and you can talk about it down the line. And God, I don't even know when copyright drops for that guy, but we'll say rough
It's
guess
it's a
50
long
years.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say rough guess 50 years. Kind of shot in the dark.
Hmm.
Um and
But
then
and
and then
I
we can
just
discuss
realized
Mhm.
I just realized our last episode we talked about like furries and furry porn for a bit, and now we're doing like animal sex jokes again. It's a weird thing to come up twice.
So, did we talk about furries last time?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know we talked about pics of Tigger that go hard.
yeah.
But I'm assuming that's the segue.
Unless you have more to add about
No,
garden
no, I
party.
meant was Tigger the segue into furries.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
like that
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's how it got brought up.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with furries at the end of the day. It's just kind of like I feel like it's something that is so integral to our society that somehow when you come up with a masterpiece as Garden Party that really dives into human emotion, plastered onto these animals, it's only bound to happen again, um, given how chronically online we are as people. Um,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
that's just me.
but also when you make your Kermit the Frog sex short film, you need to get a basketball player to produce it. Like you need to get like CP3 or Steph Curry or LeVar Ball or what I'm trying to name all the basketball players I know.
You
LeBron
you named
James, but maybe
Yeah,
he's dead
those
by
are
then. Um,
those are all I know. Now I gotta ask, why does it have to be why?
just just to help you get the win, you know?
Oh, naturally. True. Yeah. I guess is a good theme because I honestly I don't think if something of that caliber was released, let's say it was just someone talking about how they loved basketball, if it wasn't Kobe, I don't think it would have won.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like it's only touching because we know Kobe as Kobe instead of like, well, here's just random old guy who grew up playing basketball for a long time. Um, So I really think that kind of, if you put it in that perspective, you do need a producer, a basketball producer to, make my Kermit
Yeah.
hardcore porn film really win big at the Oscars.
Yeah, like Dear Basketball definitely would have gotten nominated like without Kobe's help. Like it's the kind of shit this category loves. This is kind of like fake inspirational kind of shit. But uh
I mean, not to dwell on this Kermit hardcore porn idea, but if a Muppet fucks, are you having sex with it or is it a hand job? Like if you get head from a Muppet, this is a question that I think about a lot.
it depends on how you if you view like if you have that kind of like childlike wonder that like views the Muppets as real characters. I didn't mean childlike wonder, but anyway, if you
You know
view
what
the
sex is missing nowadays? Some real childlike wonder into the
shut
scene, all right? That's
anyway, if you view it as like if you view Kermit as Kermit, he is a frog, he is real, then it would be a blowjob from a Muppet. But if you view the Muppet as just something you put on your hand, it's just like then it would just be a hand job with a weird glove.
Well, and that begs the question then. And then if it's a Muppet, do you categorize a Muppet as a frog as an animal, or would you categorize it as its own species? Because at the same time, then you're also, getting the legality of bestiality.
Well, it's kind of both. Like Kermit is a Muppet, but he's also a frog.
But is Muppet the species or the classification?
Like Muppet's a Muppet.
So are you saying it would be bestiality to get head from Kermit the Frog?
No. I
No.
don't think so because the problem with bestiality is like the animals can't consent. It's just like so Kermit is a fully thinking person essentially. So it's like he could do whatever
Okay.
the fuck he wants.
So by that logic, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. I see your train of thought. For the betterment of my own sanity, I'm not going to comment on this,
Mhm.
but I'm glad to know what your train of thought is.
And
I
we
don't
can
need records
also
of my
just
thoughts
like
on
look at the
this.
Muppet canon. Like there's a lot of like Muppets flirting with
True.
human characters. Like I
I
think
mean, Josh Groban and Miss Piggy in the ABC show. They were
and
directly
also
allowed to have sexual relations.
Charles Grodin and Miss Piggy in The Great Muppet Caper.
Wow, Miss Piggy gets around.
She she's a very desirable person, but I don't think she's ever really interested in any of these potential interests.
No,
Or
no,
maybe in the Muppet
she
Show, I didn't
uses
watch
them.
that one, but in the movies, it's like she's very much desired, but she only has eyes for her curve.
Kermit,
Which is kind of wild to think about as
Kermit.
is like we kind of make these characters to be heroes of our childhood, and we're like we watch this woman take advantage of these men on an emotional level, because
Well,
some of
she
them
doesn't take
definitely think,
advantage of them. It's like they're trying to
well,
take advantage of her, and she
well,
rejects
no,
them. She kicks their butt.
sometimes, but then you really do get into things where you can see that these men do have feelings for her, but she only really has eyes for Kermit and uses them to make Kermit jealous. Like that's not okay. Like I think we really should dive into the problematic intricacies of Miss Piggy as a character on this short film
We
podcast.
we should really have this debate where I'm pro Miss Piggy, you're anti Miss Piggy.
I'm not necessarily anti Miss Piggy. That's not necessarily the thing
You're
either.
kind of talking shit about her, and
It's
I don't appreciate your
Listen,
tone.
I love myself a toxic woman. All right. Like
See,
I will
she's not
gladly
toxic.
fall
She's
victim.
perfect.
That's no, and that's what I like about her is that she's toxic. So like I would be careful. We should talk about short films.
We should move on to our third nominee, unless you had something else to say about Garden Party.
No, it was a lot of frogs. I mean, it looked cool, but like honestly, I didn't think it was anything special outside of the tech behind it.
hmm All right. Well, our third nominee is Lou, directed by Dave Mullins. This is the first nomination for Mullins and for producer Dana Murray, and the 14th nomination for Pixar, coming off of last year's win for Piper. These stories for Pixar are getting kind of boring to tell over and over again. Another year where the two nominees are a longtime animator at Pixar finally getting a chance to direct something, and then some business major who becomes a production manager at Pixar ends up producing a short film. Mullins specifically began his animation career in 1992, working mostly freelance work, going around to many different studios, and in his time animating on things like Stuart Little, the Tin Soldier sequence of Fantasia 2000, and the music video for Bjork's I Am the Hunter. He joined Pixar in the year 2000 and worked on many different projects there as an animator, but over time found himself eventually getting the title of animation supervisor on Cars 2 and The Incredibles 2. After today's nominee and Incredibles 2, Mullins seemed to start distancing himself from Pixar, taking on projects outside the company, but did not officially leave until September of 2020, which I'll save for when I talk about his next nomination, that being this year's War is Over. For Dana Murray, while her resume is almost exclusively work with Pixar in various capacities as production manager or coordinator, with Lou being her first stint as producer, beyond that, Murray would actually end up winning an Oscar for Best Animated Feature for producing the Pixar feature film Soul. So, congrats to her. Going back to the nominee at hand, the Pixar short film process is one that I've discussed at length, where anyone at Pixar is able to go and try and pitch a potential short film. Mullins had been trying over and over again for well over a decade, trying to get a short film of his greenlit, but the board just never seemed to like his ideas until now. What really interested the board about this idea from Mullins was the titular character of Lou, which Mullins envisioned as a living lost and found box to represent a child having a hard time fitting it in at school. The leads at Pixar were enamored with the possibilities of a character that is made up of different physical objects and thus is able to change its form with whatever objects it wants. As for the plot of the film, Mullins was dealing with his children being bullied at their school and thus wanted to make this film about bullying, trying to teach kids not only to stand up to their bullies, but also try to understand them. Lou is about the items of Lost and Found box, which encourages kids to take from it and have fun. The box looks out with its baseball eyes and sees one kid being mean to the others and taking their toys. Determined to give the kid his comeuppance, the box sneaks out and steals the boy's backpack. A great battle ensues between the bully and the possessed items, and perhaps by the end, the two forces might learn a little more about each other. Rory, what did you think of Lou?
I thought Lou was interesting. It looked so the animation itself, especially the choreo, was very nice to see. I liked how fluid the motion felt, as well as the actual choreography of all the movements. Like you mentioned, the quote unquote fight scene, for lack of a better word, was I liked it a lot, especially seeing Lou, lose shape, regain shape, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was nice to see. Um, Something felt so uncanny about the art style itself. It kind of just felt like Pixar went as bland as possible onto their art style. It's very standard Pixar, but it felt soulless from a artistic standpoint. Um, and to compare it to an extreme example, it looked like if, and this is going to be a controversial statement, it kind of just directly reminded me of AI output. Not that it is, but it didn't hit the kind of feel good Pixar art style, and it looked like they cheaped out on it.
I feel like that's a bit mean to compare it to AI, but I get what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. It's a bit of a controversial statement. It's maybe a bit mean, but it felt like they cheaped out on their own art style for this short film. The actual contents of the short film were really good. And I don't have a lot of notes on it itself, other than there was one scene, and this is all I got. The jacket looked like an uncircumcised penis, and that they should kill the bully. Um, those are my two notes. I learned by the end of the short that they should not kill the bully, because I was maybe a bit harsh towards the guy. He just missed his little stuffed animal. Um, and you know what? That's all right, because there's some times where I sit in my own memories and go, man, I had this really cool stuffed animal, and I do miss it. And maybe I'd be a better person if I still had it.
So there are really two halves of this movie, and it's like, but first I wanted to say that you mentioned the art style of the film being like kind of just generic Pixar, and that's because
Mhm.
it literally just is. Because like Pixar with its short films usually likes to try to do something interesting with its visuals, but Dave Mullins was just like, nah, I just want to make it look like Toy Story. And then so he did. And he just like because I think they were working on Toy Story 4 at this time, and so they just kind of took assets from that. Um, and so after that, so anyway, back to the film. There's these two different halves to it that I want to talk about. The first half is
Mhm.
the big fight scene. And it's like you have this fucking bully kid see this demonic monster made out of all these toys. It just steals his fucking backpack. And it's just like I have no idea what's going on in this kid's mind, but it's just like I guess he just has to get his fucking backpack back. And so it goes into this big fight scene that's full of just like this amazing slapstick. It reminds me of like Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes and just like all these like classic big guy little guy kind of short films. It's like that stuff is really really great. But then it gets to the fucking stupid ass ending thing where it's just like, oh, but the bully has feelings. And it's just like this stupid generic Pixar, how they always have to try and shove in some kind of moral into every one of their fucking movies. It's all stupid. And it's like, yes, I know. It's just like it's a moral about bullying. It's like, oh, bullies have feelings too. It's like bullies are bullies because they got bullied, and you just gotta understand them. You gotta show them a little love in order to make them be nice to you. I know this was inspired by Dave Mullins and his loser kids getting bullied at school, but I don't fucking give a shit. I just want to see the bully and the demon fight over the backpack. That's the good part of this movie.
Absolutely. I think that kid should have gotten killed by whatever demon magic that jacket was possessed by. Because I think that would have made for an infinitely more entertaining movie at the end of the day.
I
I wanted like full grandiose sceneries and all this and like just fully going at it, these two, and I wanted that bully dead. And this is coming from a fan of someone who's actually pro bullying at the end of the day. I think that we as a society don't have enough bullying. Now, granted, take it with a grain of salt. When I say pro bullying, I mean we should be bullying the right things, but we went so hard in a anti-bullying direction that you just kind of end up with some things that could have been
okay.
weeded out.
I think
Child.
I can find the proper middle ground here.
Mhm.
Anti-child bullying, pro-adult bullying.
No,
But I
no, that's
feel
actually
like
directly against what I'm
children
saying.
children are like too like children shouldn't be bullied. It's like they need to learn like what's right. But it's like adults, you need to be bullied a little bit in order to like do the right thing. It's like
I'm a mix of both. I think adults should absolutely get bullied, but I think there are certain behaviors that child on child bullying is okay for. And I'm
I
saying
disagree.
things like homophobia, right? Like let's use an extreme. If someone's being a homo, bully the fuck out of that kid. Like,
Well,
yeah,
that's
bully the
different.
person being
That's
homophobic.
not like the homophobe is the bully in that case.
Not necessarily. It depends on how they're acting on it, right?
I feel like,
It's all about picking and choosing what you're bullying the person over.
but it's
I feel
not
like there's
bullying in that
context.
scenario. It's like you're punching up. You're fighting against the people trying to put you down.
Okay, okay,
That's
hear
not
me out.
bullying.
Debatable, debatable, debatable. I feel like bullying is an action.
You're
No,
actually anti-bullying.
no. Because I want to beat up said people. I want classic. Like my favorite character trope is classic high school bully or middle school bully, just the classic child bully who's a little progressive. Like he's gonna bully you for stupid stuff, but then like he'll draw the line at being homophobic. That's one of my favorite tropes in the world. And I feel like we should have more of that, and that kind of lays into the same thing that I think bullying is okay. It builds character sometimes, as long as you're not going too far. Like think about Pokemon, the best franchise in the world, right? You had Gary. Gary was a bully, all right, but he built Ash stronger. All right, they bounced off of each other, and
I
that's
don't think he did.
okay.
I think he was just kind of annoying, and Ash was like, "Okay, whatever, fuck you. I'm gonna be the best anyway."
He taunted Ash repeatedly.
Yeah, I
He
called
he
him like a
taunted and
butt face or
belittled
whatever. It's like,
Ash.
who gives a shit? And it's just like
Well, yeah, because
like
that
the
was an
real
example
bullies
of
were the
bullying,
people who
and
were trying to fucking steal his Pokemon every week.
they're losers. All right, they were corny, and that was the thing. Gary
Now,
Gary was taunting, and it was
Gary
different. It was
is a little
personal. It was a
dickwad who should
peer.
go die.
I no, he had his own kind of like comeuppance, and I mean, he kind of became a better person at the end of the day,
But like,
and that's what you want to see for all bullies. All
but
right, but Gary's a
Team Rocket
classic
is
bully.
just funny. It's like Gary's just like, who likes him?
Yeah, they're
I know you do,
clowns.
but it's like I don't care about what you think.
Okay, well then why would you invite me on the podcast then? Checkmate, liberal. All
Because
right,
you're
fuck you.
funny.
Oh, so I'm being used for content now. God, I see how it is.
Exactly. You're
Ugh,
clickbait.
I am clickbait. Good to hear. You know how often my friends tell me that I'm clickbait or used for content? I at some point I just I gotta suck it up and be like, all right, it is what it is.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about Lou, though?
I think the bully needs to be plummeted into hell, and that demon should um be investigated.
Investigated for what? Just demons or like
Demons. Have
crimes?
the what's that one show being like the Supernatural? Who are the Winchester brothers? Bring them up in this school. That'd be funny.
You say that like you don't know who they are because even though it's like you love them.
I had the Winchester. I've never seen Supernatural.
That's a lie and you know it.
Okay, I lie. I have seen 2 episodes. I've seen the finale when it first aired without having seen a single episode, and I've seen the Scooby-Doo episode.
And you love Supernatural. You're Supernatural's biggest fan.
That's yeah, no, you caught me. With my 2 episodes under my belt, you caught me.
It's just like you
I was struggling to come up with their last name that I
you
because I
love
love.
Dean and Sam.
Yes, Dean and Sam. That's what I was looking for. Yep. I'm the biggest. Who's that? Who's the what's the gay ship? The Cass? Yeah, Castiel, right?
Castiel's the guy. Destiel's the ship.
Oh, sorry, Destiel. I'm a big Destiel shipper. I think I think Asmodeus was pretty cool in that show. And when they battled Baphomet, like that was amazing as well,
Mhm.
honestly. And who can forget Bacchus showing up and having that real important moment with Ares there. Like,
Jim Backus, the
God.
voice actor.
Yeah, no, Jim, how did you pronounce it?
Jim Backus.
Bacchus. Yeah, Bacchus is yep, that's what I said. Bacchus and not Bacchus. Those are definitely the same thing.
I do, I know you don't know who Jim Backus is, but just
Nope.
take a guess. Who did he voice? What famous cartoon character did he voice?
I would have to, without a shadow of a doubt, on 100% locked in, he voiced Bear from Bear in the Big Blue House.
You're way too late. It was like he was from the 1950s. Great
Okay, okay.
great
He
attempt.
Popeye.
Nope, that's 1930s. You're way too early now.
What sh he voiced Mighty Mouse.
You're getting closer to the right era, but no, I'm going to cut you off there. He voiced Mr. Magoo.
Mr. Magoo. Mr. Magoo. Mr.
He's like an old blind guy who it's like the whole joke is that he can't see anything and just ends up in wacky situations because of it.
Oh, yeah. No, I know who this is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're
Uh,
going to ignore why I know
Leslie
so much about
Nielsen.
Supernatural and move on to our fourth nominee, which is Negative Space, directed by Rue Kuwahata and Max Porter. This is the first and only nomination for both Kuwahata and Porter, who together make up the animation company Tiny Inventions. They went to different colleges, Kuwahata going to Parsons New School of Design and Porter going to the Rhode Island School of Design. But it's only shortly after they graduated they would form Tiny Inventions together and also get married. Uh, like many animation studios, their work ends up being mainly commercials, but they do have four short films, with the first coming out in 2010, titled Something Left, Something Taken, and today's nominee being their most recent work. Outside of their shorts, the studio is probably most well known for their music videos for They Might Be Giants, specifically Electric Car and David
Really?
Crockett. Yeah,
I
Electric
love
Car
They Might Be
and David
Giants.
Crockett in Outer Space. Tiny Inventions is also currently developing a feature film called Porcelain Birds, which looks amazing. Their work is typically mixed media in style, often combining stop motion and 2D animation. However, Negative Space is done entirely with stop motion, featuring intricately detailed sets and animated at many different scales, often having to make two or three copies of the same props in different sizes, depending on the scene. The film is based on a poem by Ron Kurtke about a father and son's distant relationship, told through the ways they pack their suitcase. Kuwahata really resonated with this as her father was a pilot for Japan Airlines and would often travel a lot, and many of her memories of him are of him packing his suitcase to leave again. The construction of the models and sets are really focused on the array of fabrics used to try and hone in the audience's attention into the details of the suitcase and thus hone in more on the subtle relationship at hand. Negative Space begins with a tutorial about the best way to pack before going into the relationship between the narrator and his father, how they bonded mostly through his dad's luggage. So I really appreciate this movie just for how, like, I guess deceptively simple it is it's like you just kind of have this movie like it just starts with packing and then has these little scenes about like the narrator's relationship with his dad, just talking about how he like always like wanted to pack his suitcase with him and how like he would always text him like good job, I think it was, as and then I really love the ending because it's such a funny punchline into like this kind of murky gray kind of depressing little story. He was just like
It was so
I
funny. Yeah.
spoil
God, so
spoilers
funny.
to those who like want to go into this blind because it's like it's this ending is really like the best part of the film. But in case you already watched it or you don't care about spoilers, the last line is the dad's funeral, and the narrator remarks that the dad would have hated the funeral and especially his coffin because there's just so much wasted space, and that's killer. That's so fucking good. Good, and it's just like, but yeah, I really enjoy the dynamic at hand. I think it is so clever with how it portrays a relationship, how like it shows the narrator really like yearning for some kind of emotional attention from his dad, but only getting it through him packing the suitcase well, and that's it. And it's just like, but also it's like you do know that the dad does actually care for his son, that the son really cares for his father. It's just it's this classic kind of like masculinity where it's considered weak to show your feelings or anything. And again, it's just like that this is the only way that they can really show it to each other without feeling like emasculated or anything. And again, it's just like it's such a good film. I don't think I love it, but also I think there is a lot to love here. What about you, Rory?
Yeah, ow. Just off the bat. I'm pretty sure you had a personal vendetta out for me with this episode, and that's why I asked earlier before recording. So
I
for
just
the
connected
viewers at
it.
home, yep, for the viewers at home, this one hurt a lot as my father passed away several years ago. And I will be personally filing a complaint to HR against what has happened today. Because my oh my, did that last punchline really just kind of really sink in. As I'm sitting here in my office, just prepping and watching everything beforehand. I like to watch them day of so that I can like, have as fresh of a take on it as possible. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, oh, well, this is, oh, 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 okay. And my notes are very fun because it goes from I love the art style to I swear to God, if this is about missing your dad or some shit, I'm gonna lose it. Oh, it's a dead dad short. God damn it. Ow. And
I'm
those are the
sorry.
only notes. And I think it's really, really funny as I'm sitting here and it's just going, oh, this is cool. This is cool. Oh, that's sweet. I am also someone who likes packing things. It's a weird thing about myself. I like packing it and trying to get as like as compact as humanly possible with everything imaginable. Um, like if I could carry my entire life in a backpack, I would. So that it also kind of hit a little close to home for that. So if we're combining these two, things about me, we go one, two, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Everything hurts. Is the moral of this of that short. Um,
So you liked it.
because yeah, no, I loved this short. It was gorgeously filmed. It was a very beautiful art style. I really liked the way they went about telling said story, and it hit the most emotionally for me. Um, so it was a nice one, and this is the one that I would have liked to see win Best Picture personally.
Best picture.
Yep, yep, you caught me. That's remember when I said I don't watch the Oscars?
But you
Whoops.
know, it's like they should nominate more animated short films for Best Picture.
I agree. I agree.
Just more animated
Because I think
films.
that'd be silly. I think it'd be really, really silly if something like, well, if Oppenheimer just won, right? So let's say Oppenheimer lost to Garden Party. I think that would have been really funny. Um, I think like they shouldn't even announce that Garden Party was
A
nominated.
nominated.
It was just like, and the winner is Garden Party from 2017, several years ago at this point. We're looking at, oh my God, 7 years ago. Fuck me.
Yes.
That hurts a little bit. But we're gonna move past that and continue on as
Just,
I'm gonna go into a existential crisis of
I'm
sorts.
just imagining fucking Al Pacino going, "My eyes see God and body."
My AC garden party and just walking off stage and it'll be perfect and that's a joke that will hold up several weeks down the line when this episode is released. Guys, remember this is the future. Remember when he did that, Al Pacino? What a silly little guy. I think we should have all of the Oscars done by Al Pacino personally. um, because I love Al Pacino, and I'm gonna find out something heartbreaking about him after this, I'm sure. But I love Al Pacino. I think he's a silly little grandpa, and I think it's funny that he's like the crime guy, and that he's a little silly little old man, and
But but
I love him.
but Rory, no, you're dead naming him. It's Dunkachino.
Oh God, heaven forbid.
That's
I'm
his
so
name.
sorry. I forgot. Dunkachino. He's the grand dunk, the whole dunk and nothing but the dunk.
It's not Al
And
anymore.
it's not Al anymore. It is Dunk. So I would like to apologize to all my viewers out here. I've had a momentary lapse in judgment. I'm a changed man. I'm actually going to therapy for this. And while I've definitely affected this victim in ways that they may not recover from, I personally am not a bad person. So
Mhm.
I think I should get a pat on the back and my career back.
Yeah, I'm sure uh Al Pacino or Dunkachino, who famously listens to this podcast, is going to be very hurt
Yes.
by your comments. Uh,
And honestly, I would like to, these allegations about me, I'd like to apologize for and to the victim. Whoever the victim may be, I'm not going to personally name the victim in any aspect. But I apologize to them.
mhm. Your third time being canceled, at least third.
Something like that. It's
Uh,
the second time. Who knows? We don't need to
yeah.
dwell on that. I don't remember how many times. God, everyone hates
I
me.
can't even count. Uh, But yeah, this is just a lovely little short film about packing, and I really, I really loved looking at the behind the scenes footage for this, as and just like seeing the first like seeing them like plan out their shots and everything, like because they use like computers like 3D modeling to make sure that they could get the shots they wanted, and like built these like rotating sets and things, and it's just like the scale of everything is so amazing. But then it's
Mhm.
just like it's just so intricate. I love seeing them like make the little details and everything. It's so cute. And like seeing like the different props lined up side to side. It's like, oh, I love stop motion. Stop motion's great. More people should do stop motion.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a personal slut for stop motion at the end of the day, and I think that's just
Call it
something that I
slut
gotta live
motion.
with. Slut motion films, yep, they're
Hmm
my favorite. But yeah, they're great. They're great.
hmm Anything else you'd like to say about this film?
No, no, honestly, it was I loved it start to finish. I think it lasted the perfect amount of time and hit every narrative beat it wanted to hit and gutted me emotionally.
Hmm Yeah, it's just a short, simple film, and it does exactly what it needs to, does it well, and yeah. So we'll move on to our fifth and final nominee, which is Revolting Rhymes, directed by Jacob Schuh and Jan Lakauer. This is the second and final nominations for both Schuh and Lakauer, with Schuh being nominated for the Gruffalo, Lakauer being nominated for Room on the Broom, and both were alongside Max Lang. This is also the third and so far final nomination for Magic Light Pictures, the British animation company famous for their children's book adaptations. But this film is a large departure of form for Magic Light Pictures. While prior films of theirs were based on the works of Julia Donaldson and Alex Scheffler, Revolting Rhymes is actually based on a book by Roald Dahl with illustrations by Quentin Blake, of course. And while their typical fare is films that are appropriate for children of all ages, Revolting Rhymes is actually a bit darker, showing twists on classic fairy tales. And usually, Magic Light Pictures just adapt things one to one from their source material. But with Revolting Rhymes, they make it the interesting adaptational choice to try and intertwine the different fairy tales told in the book rather than them being standalone stories. However, the filmmakers weren't bold enough to try and invent new rhymes for the film. Any new scenes for the film had to be done wordlessly, which provided a bit of a challenge in terms of balancing a film where it's either totally narrated beat for beat or completely silent. This is actually something that is a problem in prior Magic Light films, though before it's more of a question of padding rather than providing intentional story beats. There was an immense amount of care put into this film in order to preserve the original vision from Dull and Blake without relying too much on their groundwork, but also never wanting to depart too far from their material either. Revolting Rhymes begins with the big bad wolf encountering a woman in a diner right before she's about to babysit some kids. The wolf sees her fairy tale book and remarks that it's nothing like the real stories. He begins to tell her about how Snow White went to live with jockeys, Red Riding Hood is a wolf hunter, and they are gay and in love. Rory, what did you think of Revolting Rhymes?
Honestly, I really, really liked it. I liked the how they kind of bookended it and wrapped it up with this narrative from the Big Bad Wolf. I thought it was so funny that they were like, "Here's the queen," which honestly, the queen, fun as fuck. I'm not gonna lie, just straight off the bat, like, damn, shoddy,
Cougar
what's
Chaser.
poppin'?
That's what you are.
Huh?
Cougar Chaser.
I mean, you know me at the end of the day, baby girl. Like, what am I supposed to do, Shawty? I mean, shit. God damn, what's good, mamas? But
For those listening, we have actually talked many times before. Rory has mentioned many times before about wanting to fuck the Queen, specifically Queen of England, the now deceased one.
I
Uh,
want it on record. One, not while she's deceased. This was before that. Two, not because I like the Queen, but because it would be a power move. I'm from very Irish descent. With last name Rory, with last name Donovan, first name Rory. It's kind of obvious, but very Irish descended. And I feel like it would be some sort of power move against the great whole of Britain. Um, in a literal and double meaning. So I want that on record before we continue, and now you may continue.
all right. Actually, you may continue. I kind of interrupted you at first.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah. So, no, basically, the queen is fine as fuck. What's good, Shotty? My baby girl, my mama's. And now this isn't the Queen of England they're talking about, but just a queen. I'm just gonna say the design she used for her is kind of, god damn, she bad. She bad, man. It is what it is at the end of the day.
The Queen is only
Um,
in one scene. You spent so much.
she's in a couple. She's in a couple. She's in a couple. Okay. And uh, but she reminds me kind of very similarly to like Rhea Ripley from the WWE in a way that like you know. Um but yeah, man, I will say that I think the art style in and this is not gonna make sense, but I need you to trust me and kind of just trust the vision is very like autism coded. If that makes sense. Like this, the artist behind it has got to be on the spectrum, and I mean that as a compliment. That's not like that. That's not like anything bad, but like there's something about that that just makes my brain tingle in a good way. Um, and I don't know how else to put it other than that, if that makes any sense at all.
I'm
Um,
just gonna leave that how you put it, and you can keep going.
like I know it makes sense. Someone out there is gonna see it and they're gonna get what I'm saying, and it's like, but it also at the same time, while that being said, it is also distinctly British, which I think is the worst part about this short is that it is so inherently British and British coded, up the raw gentleman. But at the end of the day, you do have to unfortunately live the fact that British people are real and they are hiding around every corner, including things like short films you're watching for a podcast. I did not appreciate the trigger warning beforehand because I opened the file up and I just saw the BBC and something really just kind of angered me. But it is what it is. You even mentioned it being gay, and it was up until the very last second where I was like, good for them, like girl bosses, getting together. That's what you love to see. But then she like was what married, like she had kids with someone that wasn't Snow White.
I mean, they could be adopted,
They could be,
or one of them's
but
transgender. Who
it,
knows?
but possibly, but also
I'm
it
just
also then
saying
also confirms that they didn't
they
get together at the end.
they never mention a husband, and it's there is no husband potential anywhere in this film. No, and it's just like, and they so clearly have such a close relationship to each other, and I'm pretty sure like they do like even in the house, it's just like there is no picture with a husband or anything, but there is a picture of Snow White, Red Riding Hood, and the two kids, and so that says everything to me.
That I missed. I did miss that. Um, which just makes me very confused how they then shot the ending because it makes it seem like they're just going out on like a little, fun girl date. When she's like, well, I got the babysitter for the kids, and like instead of like them prepping to leave the house together.
I mean,
I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense.
maybe she was. I forget which one was at the house. It's like maybe Red Riding Hood was like off wolf hunting or something.
No, Red was at the house. That was the
Okay,
thing.
maybe Snow White was visiting the jockeys. Just be like, hey, the seven,
Possibly.
the gay as hell jockeys.
There is a second episode. There is a second episode. This is a two-parter. We did not watch the first part. I mean, we only watched the first part because of the year, but
Yeah. Well, we
there's
we only
two-parter
watched the first part because that was what got nominated. It's like it was released as two
for sure,
episodes on the BBC, and then the first one was the one that got submitted to the Oscars.
which
Because
is wild.
and it's like I def I did watch the second part. I forgot most of it because it is a lot worse than this first part. And it's just
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, it's
Damn.
the
I do like how
animation.
they spun.
Hmm?
Oh, continue, continue.
I was just going to say the animation is a lot uglier in that second part. I don't think the stories are as engaging. It's just like it's it's just worse. Meanwhile, this is like a really engaging, really tight story that I just was so in love with from beginning to end. It's really funny too. And it's just like
Oh yeah.
I love Dominic West. His voice as the wolf is amazing. This
Hmm.
entire voice cast is great. Hey, and it's just like it's just really fucking good.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked the humor that they had about it, and it wasn't a lot of like in your face humor. Like Red with the blicky was the funniest thing in the world. How she
Yes.
just got a gun and was like, "All right, I'm using this every chance I get." It's not even like she missed her one shot, and she's like, "I'm never making that mistake again," and proceeded to hunt and kill every single motherfucker in the world. I'm like, "Damn, Shoddy!" Like if I wasn't so interested in the queen, like I'd be praying that she was bisexual because holy shit. Like game respect game. Um, but man, no, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I loved the lighting on a lot of the shots too. The lighting was
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic. Oh God, there's like the shot when she first gets like her wolf pelt coat. It's
Yes,
beautiful. Love.
absolutely.
I just really love this one. It's just so great. It's just like, and it's so funny comparing this to the other Magic like pictures films because like those films are just the most basic generic kid stories that are just so repetitive and whatever. It's like they can be fun. Like I enjoyed the Gruffalo. Room the Brim sucks. Some of their other films suck.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's like this is just so different and so fun and so interesting. And it's just like, why couldn't we get more like this?
Absolutely. 100% I agree with you.
Hmm. Um, but yeah, anything else stand out to you? Any fun moments that you wanted to share? Anything in your notes?
No, honestly, for the most part, it was. I mean, it was just a blast, start to finish. Like I said, the art style was beautiful. I hated that it was British, and it was really nice to see kind of a good twist. I did like the twist ending too. I do want to bring that up. The twist ending was something that I actually didn't see for some reason, and I don't know if that's because I'm stupid or I was just really captivated in the story. But like it got to a point like right at the end where it clicked. I was like, ah, shit, he's gonna do this and this and this. And I was like, well, fuck me, man. Um, so I did actually get slightly taken aback by the ending and
Hmm.
realizing, oh, they're going for it. He's gonna kill this old lady, or I guess lock her up, and then just be like, he's gonna go kill those children. That's
Hmm.
wild. Um, that kind of threw me off. This is a children's film at the end of the day, but like they're like, nope, we're eating those children,
Hmm.
which I think is funny.
And I'll just say the second part of it features the wolf. The kids realize that the wolf is not their nanny or whatever, and
Sure.
so I guess they trick the wolf into reading them fairy tales or telling them stories, and then it's like that's the second part. It's just the wolf telling the two kids more fairy tales. And it's just like that's less fun
That's
than this like in
lame.
interweaving like dynamic and everything. It's just.
Yeah, they should have absolutely killed off those kids then and had it as a revenge story.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, it's just this one, like the framing device is a lot more intriguing. It's like you just see the wolf enter this diner with this random old babysitter lady, and it's just like he just starts telling this story, but then it's like you realize at the end that the framing device is connected to the story.
Exactly, exactly. And you just those are things you love to see. You love to see, man. Framing devices and narrative potential. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
And also just like the ambiguous ending too. It's just like where it's just like you just see the wolf in the nanny's clothes go up to the house, to the apartment. Is just like that. That's so good on its own. It's just
It
like
is
you
it
don't
is
need
really
that
good.
second part.
It is quite good.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's all I have on that one, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good place to end. So now that we've gone through and talked about the five nominees, let's rank them all. Rory, start us off with your number five.
Number five, honestly, I gotta give it to Dear Basketball. Not a fan. It's just like I said, I think it wouldn't have been that special if it wasn't for Kobe being Kobe. And I didn't engage with it a lot as a non-sports fan.
Hmm. My number five is Garden Party. It's just like I said, I just kind of found it boring. It's like, yeah, I liked it more than I did the first time, but at the end of the day, it's just it's just frogs in a scene. I don't really care.
Hmm.
Number
Hmm.
four.
For me would be Garden Party next, I would have to say. I think you're a little too harsh on it. I enjoyed how nonchalant it was while this story was unfolding in the background. But at the end of the day, I think it's really only there for its technical prowess instead of its actual like story potential.
Hmm. Uh, my number four is Dear Basketball. So you have the same bottom two. Uh, like I said, I do like it. I think it's fine. It's nowhere near as bad as some people say, but it's nowhere near as great as some people say. It's just a story about how ball is life, and that's fine. Number three.
My three is a tough one. I wanna give it to Lou, I think.
Any any
Uh, uh,
any expounding upon that?
yeah, I mean, Lou, like I said, it just it felt so generically Pixar and cliche on almost every turn, with the exception of the choreography.
Mhm. Yeah,
But Pixar is Pixar at the end of the day, so I mean,
yeah.
still wasn't bad.
My number three is also Lou, and like I was saying, it has a really strong first half, a really weak second half, but and just kind of meets in the middle where it's like it's good. That's it.
Yeah,
It's just like I wish it was more of the first half, less of the second half, but things can't always be
yeah,
what I want.
absolutely, yeah.
Number two.
Number two will have to go to Revolting Rhymes. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. It's the longest of it all. I enjoyed, like I said, we just talked about the framing device, kind of how they twisted the stories, interpreted these characters. It was all a lot of fun.
My number two is Negative Space, which I really liked. I really liked the design of it. It's a really good short film, but I just think the other one's better. And your number one, of course.
Is my Kermit sex tape that I will be producing. No, of course it's negative space. Like I said, it was beautifully done, and it just hit all the emotional beats perfectly for me, while giving this very nice story and landing everything the way it needed to land.
Mhm. And my number one is Revolting Rhymes, which like I said, like I mentioned earlier, I first watched this and only once watched this in theaters when they were showing all of these short films together as part of the animation package or whatever. And I forgot how much I love this film. It is just so tight to me. It is so perfect in its emotional beats. It keeps up that pace so well. It's just absolutely amazing in every aspect to me. It's just like I no other film is even close to this. It is one of my favorite nominees in this category. It is just I love it to bits. It's great. But yeah, those are our
Sure.
rankings.
Sure. Yeah. No,
We're
I think
pretty similar rankings. We just haven't swapped. It's some actually
coupled them. Yeah.
not similar rankings, but uh Mostly similar opinions. However, I love Revolting Rhymes a lot more than you do, and that's pretty much
Yeah.
the
And Revolting Rhymes was amazing, don't get me wrong.
yeah,
It's just kind of like, one held a more personal connection to me, I think, is at the end of the day.
exactly. But yeah, before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Rory, or anything you'd like to promote?
Um, if you're in the greater Georgia, Atlanta area, we are doing productions with a company called Matters Productions. You can find more information, reach out to me on social media. Rory S. Donovan on Twitter.
Nice. Okay. Don't think any of our listeners are even in the United States, but
Worth a shot.
it is worth a shot. Maybe someday we'll get somebody who lives in Georgia. But thank you, Rory, for coming on the show, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.